the constant need to prove yourself when you feel like you may not be less than, or your worth only matters when somebody else validates that. When somebody else perceives you as some sort of way, you are only valuable then. You are only loved when you prove yourself through anything that you do or something that you say. You feel as though you need that external validation from somebody, or there's this anxiety around it that causes you to control other people's perceptions, whether you realize you're doing it or not, because 80% of the time it's a subconscious thing that shows through your words, through conversation, the way that you perceive yourself and the way that you act, and your emotions and how you think. It shows up in different ways, and you don't realize it. And you don't realize that you're looking for validation. It doesn't come the same for everybody else. Some people may do something or accomplish something and they want to go tell somebody right away, or they feel as though they need that all the time, but that may be different for you. You feel as though you might need to prove your knowledge on something, or prove that you do know something, or you are capable of doing something when you know you are, but you feel as though you need to prove it to that other person, or you need to prove your competence to somebody. And it's that word proof. You feel like you need to prove yourself to somebody, and whatever that is inside of you, it's different for everybody. And a lot of it, 9 times out of 10, it is rooted in insecurity, deep rooted insecurity. And it does not mean that you feel like, you feel like you're ugly, or you are unintelligent, or you just are not confident, because that's not the thing. Insecurity is not the same thing as confidence, or the same thing as the way that you perceive yourself externally. It is internally most of the time. And that is also something that I've been realizing with myself. And with the insecurity thing, there's something inside of you that you feel as though you need, like I said before, you need to prove yourself to somebody. And in more ways than just action, it shows up through verbalization. So when you speak, there's a big example of this, and this is really my main point of the video, is when you are conversating with somebody and it is not an argumentative conversation. It is not something where you have two opposing views or beliefs and it's a conflict. That's not it. It's not argumentative, or it's nothing like that. But then it begins to become that, because our body, we sense that there's a threat. So we feel the need to become defensive, and we have certain mechanisms set in place that differ from everybody, and that could stem from experience or trauma, or there's a certain person that made you feel a certain way, or it was a gradual change throughout time, and other factors in your life that have created such mechanisms in you, where it may not be physical, but it is a way that you sense something coming on. You feel maybe somebody's perceiving you as less knowledgeable, for example. This is like with me, and I don't realize that I'm doing it. So in conversation, I often interrupt people, and I'll say, no, I know. Or I will try to finish their sentence for them, but not in like a understanding kind of way. When you're conversing with somebody, it is more of like, I know what you're talking about already, or I feel like I need to prove that I know what they're talking about, or that I need to prove that I've known about this for so long. Like, shut up. Like, okay, so you need to let people speak, and that's what I need to keep telling myself. And that's what happens in a lot of conversations, and often the other person on the other side of the conversation, who's receiving whatever you're giving them, they feel as though they are dismissed, because you feel like the need to interrupt them, and you don't mean to do it rudely. You don't mean to make them feel like what they're saying is not important, or that they don't have something to give or provide. It is because you feel like you need to prove your competence to this person. And like I said, though we mean it or not, sometimes that may happen for the other person, and they may perceive you as trying to dismiss them or see them as less than, and it's not very respectful. And it sucks for you, because you realize after you just did what you did, or you said whatever you did, you feel bad, and you didn't realize that you were doing something until that other person maybe told you that you affected them in some sort of way, or they reacted in a different way that you didn't expect, or you heard it, you felt it, like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have said this to this person, blah blah blah. You realize it toward the end of it. And it is the biggest thing that I notice with a lot of people, that I'm sure who's watching this video could relate, is you constantly say that I know. And like I said before, you interrupt somebody. And it's very annoying for both myself and I'm sure for other people, and I've been told that by other people. And somebody said to me, they were like, you feel it's like you constantly need to prove yourself. And that's where this is coming from, because I was like, yeah, that's right. And like, why am I becoming defensive over something that I don't have no reason to defend over? And like I said, you perceive there is a threat going on, and your mechanism is to prove yourself to this person, and it is rooted in insecurity, like I said, and it is also in anxiety. So when you feel like you need to prove yourself, that is another way of controlling somebody's perception and what they view you. And so when you do that, it is rooted within fear, because anxiety is fear. And you feel the need that you need to control the situation, and whether that be someone's perception or the things that you say and how you want to perceive yourself as. And like I said, it is rooted in fear and anxiety and some sort of insecurity that you don't realize, or maybe you do realize that you have something, and you need to do some self-reflection. And that's what I've been doing lately, all the time. God. But that's what I realized within myself, and this does not go to everybody. Everybody has their own universal experiences and thoughts and things like that, but this is something that's been very prominent in me, and it's shown up in many ways in my life, where it's not just throughout my speech, but it's throughout my actions and the way that I perceive myself. And I can't feel proud of the things that I do or who I am fully until somebody can tell me that. And even then, when somebody tells me that I should be proud of something, or something that I did is good enough, I never feel it. And it's because I search for some sort of external validation that I will never find, because that validation does not matter if you can't see it in yourself to begin with. So that's a shift that you also need to see in yourself, is that, okay, I don't need this person to know that I know something. Like, this is going for me. I don't need somebody to know that I know what they're talking about right away, or that I've been doing this blah 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 for many years, and I'm well versed on this topic, or I know what they're trying to help me. Sometimes people will try to help you, and you just try to say, oh, I know. Even when you know, sometimes you just don't say it. Just let them speak. And that stops a lot of conflict or people feeling some sort of way. Really, it does. And that's also leading me into my next point, is when you are in certain situations, you feel it, and you think, okay, can I let them finish what they're saying, and can I not interrupt? Yes. Okay, if I can, it's not the end of the world, then that's okay. And then you realize after it's over and they're done talking, do you feel the need that you wanted to say what you wanted to say? Yeah, you can say it, and you don't have to be defensive about it, because you waited enough time for them to finish speaking to the point where now you can verbalize what you were going to say without interrupting. And when you interrupt, even if is what you're saying not trying to push whatever else somebody else is saying, it comes off rudely, even if it's not rude. So once you wait for somebody to stop talking, whatever you wanted to say, it will not be perceived as rude or coming off aggressive, because you waited. And then you'll be able to further verbalize your point and try your best to help somebody understand what it is that you're saying, and trying not necessarily to prove, but what you wanted to tell them to begin with. And you also need to identify, is this a feeling, an emotion, or is this the truth? And that goes for anything in life. When you can differentiate the two, then life will be a whole lot better, and you are able to manage your emotions well. You are able to handle situations and just anything in life better when you can differentiate if this is a feeling, emotion, or if this is the truth. And 9 times out of 10, it is never the truth, because our thoughts are not reality, our emotions are not reality, and emotions provoke a lot of actions and thoughts and words that we do regret, just like anger. I'm sure you've heard people say, don't act out in anger, because you're going to regret it. And do you regret what you did or said, or maybe whatever it is that you did when you were angry? Yeah, you will almost always regret what you did, or the way that you handled it. You maybe not regret what you did, but the way that you handled it. And that can show up in sadness too. It can show up in a lot of emotions. any emotion really. When you're happy or when you're really sad or you're going through grief, there are things that you say or do that you may not have meant, or maybe you have meant, but you shouldn't have said it in the way that you did, or shouldn't have acted out in the way that you did, shouldn't have done it, period. So it is when those emotions come up that you should not react in the way that you do. And that is proving my point. And what I mean by that is that you do not be reactive to your emotions, because a lot of the things that you're going to do, you're not going to realize that you're doing it until it's over, and then you reap the consequences that you got from what you did. So when you differentiate the two and you understand, okay, this is just emotion, it is not the truth, it is not reality, it's okay, and you'll find yourself to be in a better place. And like I said before, you'll be able to better handle situations that you're placed in. And throughout this, you're not gonna snap your fingers, and you're gonna wake up overnight and you're gonna be so good at conversating with other people and verbalizing the things that you say and what you mean to tell somebody, or what do you want to prove and how it comes off, because it's not going to work that way. It's a gradual change throughout time, but the biggest part of it is being present and identifying what it is that you're feeling and why you're feeling this way. And I realize that sometimes my chest will tighten up a little bit, or I will begin, my mind will kind of go blank, and I feel like I just need to interrupt this person. Or what is it that you feel deep inside that may be provoking this behavior from you? Is there an experience? Is it a direct experience, or is it linked to an emotional response that maybe you remember, if it was maybe a sibling, or if somebody made you feel less than, or if it was a gradual behavior throughout time where somebody would tell you that you're lying when you were never lying, when you were telling the truth, or when it could be anything, it could be anybody that you may have been placed in, or in childhood. Most of the time it's rooted in childhood, but you feel like you need to prove yourself. Why is that? And it's not going to be easy. It's not always going to come to you right away. And with things like this, when you deal with a lot of emotions and when you act without meaning to act a certain way, it is not always going to be a direct answer. There's not going to be an experience that just clicks in your head. It's like, oh, well, this person said this to me, so now this is why I am the way I am. No, because somebody can say one thing to you, but it's not going to change the trajectory of you and rewire your brain to be a certain way all the time. No, it's not. It has to be gradual throughout time, and it has to be some sort of repetitive thing that may have been maybe in different situations, but it's been repetitive in a way where now you act out, and now this mechanism has formed in your brain that it shows externally in other ways. And the way that you perceive yourself, the way that you perceive others, that control of perception, that anxiety and this fear that you do not know where it's coming from, it is not always direct. And just know that. And that's why it's frustrating at times, because when people can ask you, why are you being this way? I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know why I'm being this way. So you really have to dive deep into that. And you're not always going to know 100% of the time why. You're not going to have all the answers. I wish you could, but you can try your best to understand to the best of your ability. And when you understand the why and you identify how you feel, and like when you're in a certain situation, what do you feel coming up, or what do you feel like you want? What do you feel like you want to say in the situation? Or is there emotion that pops up? Like I said, if there's an experience that kind of pops up in your head and you feel like this light flickers on, the switch, and you need to all of a sudden become very defensive and prove your competence to somebody. So it's just a matter of how and the why and the what. And then after that, you can start following what I said earlier, is trying to identify your emotions with the truth and asking yourself certain questions of, can I sit and wait for this person to finish what they're saying? Can I listen? And when you say yes, that those brief moments, or maybe long moments of somebody talking, that time will give you more time to understand what is it that you're trying to verbalize, what is it that you're feeling, and how you're going to say it. And it will not come out in the wrong way, per se. You'll have more time to, like I said, verbalize and formulate the words so you can expel them in a way where this other person does not feel like you are coming on defensive, or you're trying to one-up them, or trying to interrupt them completely and dismiss what they're saying. No. So it's a journey, something that I've been trying to help myself with, and really, these past couple of days, I've really been realizing that I'm insecure in some way. And it's not because I'm insecure about the way that I look or I'm trying to look like everybody else. It's maybe that way for somebody else or for you, but that's not with me. It shows up in other ways in my life, just like it does for anybody else. And what I'm talking about is really what I can relate to, and I'm trying to verbalize them and formulate them in a way where it can relate to other people, because I can't go off of anybody else's experiences but my own. But I don't want to talk just about myself. I want to make it generalized. So I hope that something that I did or said helped you in some sort of way, and I was able to maybe open your mind or help you realize something about yourself. And yeah, maybe helped you understand that you may be insecure. I don't know. But thank you for watching if you did, and thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you.